Got it. I'll translate the entire superscript 1H. Lewis Hamilton is one of the greatest names in the history of Formula One, a seven-time world champion and the holder of records that place him alongside legends such as Michael Schumacher. For almost 2 decades, Hamilton's image was tied to Mercedes, the team with which he built the dominance that defined the hybrid era. The relationship between driver and team seemed unbreakable. But at the end of 2023 came the surprising announcement. Hamilton would leave Mercedes and race for Ferrari starting in 2025. The decision was met with enthusiasm from the Italian team's fans and created expectations about the possibility of the Briton achieving his long-awaited 8th world title wearing the most famous red in motorsport. Reality, however, proved far more complex than the initial narrative. From the very first months, it became clear that Hamilton's adaptation to the Ferrari environment and above all to the SF25 car would not be easy. The driver himself admitted publicly that the transition was harder than he expected. He found himself facing a series of technical differences that required a complete reformulation of his driving style, something rarely seen at such an advanced stage of a career. One of the first challenges was understanding the aerodynamic behavior of the Ferrari. The car has very different characteristics from the Mercedes. While at his former team, Hamilton could always count on a stable rear end that allowed him to attack corners aggressively and with confidence. At Ferrari, he found a chassis that prioritizes a strong front end, something that suits Charles Leclerc's style but leaves him uncomfortable. Hamilton feels the rear sliding under braking and corner entry, which forces him to adopt a style that is not natural to him. This difference in aerodynamic philosophy became an obstacle that cannot be solved in just a few races. Another key factor lies in the braking system. For years, Hamilton used components supplied by Carbon Industry at Mercedes. But at Ferrari, the standard is Brembo. To the casual viewer, this might seem minor, but for a Formula One driver, it represents a massive change. Braking points, pedal sensitivity, wheel lockup tendencies, and even optimal temperature ranges are all different. Hamilton revealed in interviews that he had to relearn how to interpret the car's behavior at every corner, something that requires time and patience. The adaptation was also complicated in terms of technology. Hamilton described how strange it was to deal with different software, with buttons on the steering wheel in new positions, and electronic commands he did not yet master the way he did at Mercedes. In a championship where details measured in tenths of a second decide victories and defeats, being completely comfortable with the machinery is fundamental. The driver himself admitted that he still does not feel fully at one with the car. Although he says with each race, the sensation of connection improves. Inside Ferrari, the atmosphere was not as welcoming as fans imagined. Team principal Frederic Vasseur admitted that both he and Hamilton underestimated the difficulty of the process. Ferrari expected that the champion's experience and talent would accelerate the adaptation, but it quickly became clear that the change would demand a much longer period. His long past at Mercedes, with 18 years under the same philosophy of work, left deep marks. Leaving that comfort zone and diving into a new culture was almost like starting over. Some voices within the paddock helped to increase the pressure. Former drivers and analysts highlighted that Ferrari might not be the ideal environment for Hamilton at this stage of his career. Arturo Mercerio, an ex-Italian driver, went so far as to claim that 90% of the Ferrari staff did not want the Briton signing, suggesting that the move was driven more by marketing interests than technical considerations. Even if that perspective does not reflect the entire truth, it circulates in the paddock and creates noise. For a driver who always had complete support at Mercedes, facing internal doubts at his new home adds an extra psychological burden. ACs commented on the situation and said that changing teams is always a major challenge, reminding that even a world champion can take 6 months to a year to adapt to a new car. AC's words served as a reminder that Hamilton's struggles are not unique. Many great drivers suffered when switching teams, and history shows that not all of them managed to turn it around. Despite all these obstacles, there are signs of progress. In recent races, Hamilton has been able to show more consistency, getting closer to Leclerc in qualifying pace, and especially in race pace. He himself declared that he feels more connected with the car, even though the process is far from complete. The 7-time champion has always been known for his adaptability and resilience, and many believe that with time, he can turn these difficulties into strengths. The current scenario shows a Hamilton divided between his vast experience and his search for renewal. While he has to deal with the frustration of not being immediately competitive, he also demonstrates patience and focus on learning the details of Ferrari. The team, for its part, works to adjust the car and provide conditions that suit both drivers, but still faces the dilemma of balancing the preferences of Hamilton, which do not always align. Ferrari's passionate and demanding fan base lives this moment with anxiety. Many expected quick victories and the long Dame title fight in Hamilton's first year in red, but what has unfolded is a gradual and painful adaptation process. The dream of seeing the Briton win his 8th title with Ferrari still exists, but it is now accompanied by doubts and the awareness that the path is harder than anyone imagined. This narrative of Hamilton at Ferrari represents more than just sporting results. It's a story of reinvention. A driver already consecrated at the final stage of his career decided to take a risk and trade the security of Mercedes for the uncertainty of Ferrari. By doing this, he gave up his comfort zone and launched himself into a challenge that is almost epic, one that goes beyond victories and statistics. For many, this is the ultimate proof of his greatness. If he manages to overcome this difficult phase and achieve victories in red, he will have written a historic chapter not only in Formula One, but in the culture of sport. Meanwhile, the season continues, with each race serving as a new opportunity for learning. Hamilton and Ferrari have not yet found perfect harmony, but there are signs that it may come. Patience will be the key. The team acknowledges miscalculations. The driver recognizes his own limitations, and together, they seek to evolve. It's a battle against time, against media pressure, against the shadow of a teammate, and against the weight of Ferrari's history. In the end, the question hanging over the paddock is simple. Will Hamilton manage to adapt in time to turn this gamble into glory? Or will his stint at Ferrari be remembered as a bold attempt that did not succeed? No one yet has the answer, but one thing is certain. Witnessing this journey is a gift for every Formula One fan.